What's up, trade crew? Welcome back to the HVAC R&D podcast hosted by Rhydon Atzenhofer. I hope y'all have been enjoying the most recent episodes and guests, and tonight I'm excited to welcome someone that has a vast amount of knowledge in areas that I do not. In the true theme of this show, I'm excited to learn a bit of things as well. So without further ado, let's get it going. Yeah, come on. So welcome back, trade crew. As I said, thank you for coming back to the show. HVAC R&D is powered by, well, as for the last few episodes, insert your company name here, because that's right. I'm still looking for the next HVAC R&D powered by sponsor. If you're interested, please reach out via hvacrnd.com or shoot me an email at hvacrnd@gmail.com. I'll send you the 2024 press kit. We can set up some meetings. I'm also grateful to be part of the 2024 AHR Workforce Development Team that has been working with Chicago's Prosser Career Academy and High School, a local high school with a dedicated HVAC program helping to bring the next group of tradespeople to the industry. In recent weeks, I have to give another huge, massive shout out to Bosch, as well as Insight Partners, Hobbs Associates, and the Air Control Concepts family of brands, and also the Moore Sales Company for their support in this venture. Bosch has stepped up even more, and they agreed to donate more equipment into the lab. They've also hosted the Prosser Trades teacher this last couple of weeks ago up in Londonderry, doing some full hands-on training for him so that when he goes back, he can really teach these students how to utilize inverter technology and start looking at the way the industry is going. And I cannot be happier to have had such dedicated partners on board for this project. If you are interested in helping with the school and with R&D and the rest of this team, please reach out to me and I'll see what else we can do to get you involved. So, also, if it's your first time listening to the show, I welcome you. Thank you for taking the time to give R&D a shout. I am based in North Carolina, and the show is focused on research and development within the trades. The main objective is the pursuit of building a better, more knowledgeable community of HVAC and trade professionals, as well as other tradespeople, by learning from the past and embracing new advances in the industry to help us all be better for the future. If you're not following us online or on social media, you can find the show on Instagram and TikTok at hvac.rnd, and you can also find us as the HVAC R&D podcast on LinkedIn, TradeHounds, and Facebook. If you're not listening to each show, which I hope you will come back and do, please make sure to follow us on your favorite platform that you're listening through, whether it be Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, or another close to 20 platforms that kind of changes here and there. Gets bigger, which is better, so more people will listen. Thank you for being here. If you want to work with me or you're interested in being a sponsor, again, reach out through hvacrd.com. And when you're there, make sure to check out the rest of the website and the swag shop. So, self-plug's over. 3 minutes. Total time, maybe a little less, getting better. So this week, I want to welcome Kyle Emmons, president of JJM Alkaline Technologies. They design and manufacture condensate neutralizers for gas-fired high-efficiency heating appliances. And just recently, JJM also announced their partnership with Explore the Trades, which aims to help bridge the technical gap in plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical industries. So I'm very excited to have someone that's very like-minded. So thank you for coming on the show, Kyle. I appreciate you sharing some time with us today.
Thanks, Rhydon. Looking forward to it.
So typically, when we get on this show, it's after 5 on a Wednesday. This show is meant to be enjoyed typically on Fridays after 5 when it drops. So we usually drink a beverage on the show. Now, I don't know if you brought anything. If you did, guests usually go first.
I did. I've got
That's what I'm talking about.
I knew what I was signing up for. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. No, I've got a Texas beer. It's a St. Arnold Fancy Lawnmower. It's a good warm weather, easy drinking beer.
Solid verdict.
Very good. I could probably have a couple.
I mean, that's what we're here for. Now, how's the, gotta ask, how's the graphic work on the can? Any cool descriptions?
Yeah, it's, so as you'd expect, fancy lawnmower, it's got a grass kind of lawn theme to it. So green and floral. St. Arnold, the brewery is, in fact, they tell you right at the top of the can, the oldest craft brewery in Texas. Many of us are familiar with Shiner, but St. Arnold is definitely up there. But yeah, they call it a refreshing outdoor beer. It's got artwork with he's got a summer floral short sleeve button down shirt on. It's a saint, so he looks like a Catholic saint. And then he's got some lawn ornaments. It looks like some flamingos, a soccer ball, badminton, some horseshoes, and he's holding a beer. So, and then in the background, he's mowing the yard with the sun going down. I mean, they've really outdone themselves in the artwork on this one.
They got it covered. All right, well, here goes. So I am drinking a Shake That Axe American style lager. So it's, I think, the second or third beer I've had on here from Armored Cow Brewing. 4.8% volume, nice solid 16-ounce pint. No major descriptions. So the front cover is like two pickaxes behind a skeleton with a Paul Bunyan beard and mustache. Or like a skull, excuse me. Like a skull with like the Paul Bunyan mustache and a cigar hanging out, with a beanie and a bunch of the Armored Cow logos on it. So nice solid artwork all the way around today.
I like the Axe Paul Bunyan theme. That's well done.
So what you been into lately, my friend?
Yeah, man. I live down here in Dallas, Texas, and we've been dealing with some too much rain recently. So I've been trying not to float away. But other than that, definitely back in the saddle after a trade show season. I'd say the first couple months of the year. It's hard to believe it's already June. But yeah, staying busy. We've got a ton of things going on at JJM, which I know we'll dive into a bit here, but a lot of different initiatives we're working on, some new products in the works that we just launched. And other than that, I got back from a vacation a couple weeks ago. I got away from the day job for a little bit, which is pretty nice. But like I said, definitely back in the saddle today.
I feel you on back in the saddle. The back in the saddle thing is even getting a show done. I know this has been probably the longest break I think the show has had since it started. But about 6 weeks ago, I kind of took on a bit more responsibility with the day job. So I've been kind of adding in some negotiating time, some procurement time, some other business building time, as well as, going about my normal day to day as a sales rep. So it's been a bit busy. And then Kristen also had surgery 2 weeks ago. It's her second hip surgery already at 32. Sounds so fun. I'm praying this is not a every 5-year thing, because her last one was 5 years ago to the day for her MRI and 1 day different for the surgery, ironically. So she's got a good another couple of weeks on crutches and then 12 weeks of physical therapy. So fun times for Trade Wife as she goes by on Instagram. But yeah, so I've had my hands full, to say the least.
Yeah, the day job isn't enough. You certainly have a lot on your plate outside of work, it sounds like, too.
Yeah. The funnest part was, and this is going to sound sexist, but not meant to, when we were at her post-op, he's like, now remember, she cannot mop or vacuum for at least 3 months. I was like, okay, I can handle that, but why are you staring at me?
Yeah.
I've been known to clean my house. I've been known to clean my house once or twice.
That's right.
Oh, geez. But no, and she is the most stubborn patient, because there is she is go, man. I about have to shackle her down to keep her from moving on that dang thing, I swear.
Yeah, that's tough for somebody who's got a lot of energy to have to
Yep.
not move very much, especially something like a hip that's sensitive.
Yeah. So she had a labral tear,
Ooh.
which I don't know if anybody who all knows about that or has had one, but you can pretty much it's similar to like stuff in your rotator cuff.
Yep.
For most of us tradespeople, that's the one we seem to do. It seems like is rotator cuff. But yeah, it was rough. They said it was like 25% larger than what they consider a large tear. So I was like, is it an extra large tear? Is that what we call that? I don't know. Is that the medical term? You have an extra large tear. I don't think it works that way.
No. Goodness. Well, hopefully a speedy recovery for her. Unfortunately, I guess y'all have been through this before, but it does not sound like fun.
Less stairs this time. The last time we were on the second floor of apartment building. At least now it's just straight through the front door, and everything in our house, master suite and everything is downstairs with the kitchen. So at least don't have to go up the stairs. But
yeah, hopefully that'll help with the rehab.
See, now I can finally get to my home office and escape. That was never possible before. But now I can go upstairs and hide. At least for a little bit. So where, I know you said you came back from vacation. Where'd you go?
Yeah, we went to Europe. We did Italy and Paris. So it was a great vacation, definitely a bucket list. It was about 10 days. So it was pretty good.
What part of Italy?
We did Milan and then Lake Como.
Okay. So I've talked about it on the show before, but I was in Milan in 2006. So I spent a month in northern Italy in 2006. I was in Milan when they won the World Cup, which was nuts. Wow. And then we went up from Milan up to Lake Como and then up into Aosta.
Okay, I didn't make it up there. Oh, man. It's a beautiful part of the country, that's for sure.
It is. God, I know Brittany Murphy was on the show earlier this year or late last year, and she was talking about another lake between Milan and Venice, and I can't remember the name of it. She said it is absolutely beautiful too.
I mean, the border between Switzerland and Italy, I don't know if it gets better than that. It almost doesn't feel real when you're there.
No, nothing seems real. Especially when you get on the train and you're just going out through the middle of nowhere and there's hardly anybody on the train ride with you, and you just it feels like an otherworldly experience because it's just so different.
Agreed.
We get so accustomed to the go that you go over there for even 10 days. It's just a different pace of life.
Yeah, I agree. I always love experiencing a different culture, but always makes me extremely grateful for the way we have it over here. They certainly enjoy their lifestyle, but it just makes me even more grateful for what we have.
100%. Now, I'm trying to think what all you would have done in Milan. Any museums?
Yeah,
art galleries, any of that stuff?
Yeah, we stayed right near downtown. Saw the Last Supper, and then we went and saw the Duomo there, which was good. We didn't believe it or not, we didn't do a whole lot of shopping. We saw all the shops, but we didn't do a whole lot of shopping. So it was kind of crummy weather, but we still managed to get around while we were there.
Have they finished the remodel on where they were cleaning up the front of the cathedral?
The front is. There's still scaffolding on the side.
Okay.
The front was pretty well, I would say, done or at least uncovered. It's really the top, middle, and then the sides, and then obviously the grand. I don't know what to call it on the inside. That was still pretty much covered. Once you went inside, you really couldn't see all the way up there. But it looks like they're. I don't know. It takes a really long time to restore those things, so they're probably a couple of years away. But it looks close.
Now I would. As long as it took to build them, I would think it took a little while to clean them and put them back together. Right. When I was there, the entire front was pretty much covered where they were working on it, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
And then we didn't make it to the Last Supper. My cousin had planned the whole trip, and she didn't realize we had to book. At that time, you had to book like 2 or 3 months ahead of time to have a time slot to go in to see it because it was so crazy busy. So we didn't make it into there. We ended up going to the castle.
Yes. Yep. We did that too. That was pretty cool.
How cool was the like the rainforest fresco? Like, did you get into that room? Did you
No,
see
we
all that?
did you
Where it
go
was like
inside?
the
We didn't go
treetop
inside.
canopy?
Yeah, we didn't go inside. We just walked around the grounds. We didn't go inside though.
So when we went in there, there was a huge, like, just open, like, great hall that forever had been whitewashed, and there was nothing there. And when they were going through doing some restoration, some of the like original plaster from before, where it had been restored years before, fell off, and they could see kind of something was behind it. So they started uncovering it, and the entire great hall is, it's trees up the sides of it, and then it's just the canopy and all the leaves and the branches through the whole roof. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, that's great. I wish we would have gone in and seen that.
Because I think somehow I lost like all the pictures, almost all the pictures from that, and there a few of the ones that I can still find. There's one with me with an armful of pigeons in the square in Milan, and then there's and then there's one of me standing like up next to a suit of armor in one of the entrances of the castle. That's about all I've got.
Well, if it was that long ago, I mean, that's pretty good if you still have anything. I have to go digging in boxes probably for mine.
Well, I think that was my college laptop, which didn't even make it through college. So Lord knows where half of them ended up. Of course, that was right when people were stopping using, the old Kodak camera, and it was when everybody was going after like the $300-400 Fujifilm cameras with the little SD card.
Yep, that would only hold like 16 photos or something.
Yeah. So that's what I had.
We're dating ourselves a little bit now.
I know, it's like I should have had the Kodak 27 exposure. I'd have been a bit more high class than my other one. At least it could fit in my pocket. That dates us too in some ways.
Agreed. I was going to say on this trip we managed to do everything on our iPhone. That's how spoiled we are nowadays.
No, we do everything on the phone now. So, but anyway, we'll stop digressing. So tell me, a lot of how I've wanted the show to really go is I want guests on here and I want to get your story and kind of how you got into the trades, how you went through stuff. Obviously, you've got from the resume, you have a much different background getting into trade stuff than how I got here. So, from Texas and TCU to Northwestern through everything else you did, how did you kind of get to where you are now? Where'd this all start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know you had listened to one of your recent episodes with the guys from, I should say the CEO from, I don't know if it was maybe Richard or Rich, but from Redwood.
Yep.
I think, wouldn't say we share similar backgrounds, but I think maybe a finance, foundation, and then getting into the industry kind of later on in our careers, we would share that. But quick background on me. As I mentioned, I live here in Dallas today. I'm originally from Dallas, Fort Worth. Went to college here with a finance degree, and then went into banking and energy banking in particular. So pretty traditional, finance career path out of college. And then I went onto the investing side for a couple of years. So I was investing in energy businesses, again in Texas. And I really, really loved analyzing and investing in, and then, working with management teams to build companies. But I didn't want to spend the rest of my career in the energy industry. I really loved the idea of smaller businesses and across different industries, as opposed to, like I said, just the energy business. And so I decided to go back to grad school. That took me up to Northwestern, as you referenced, where I went for 2 years full time at the Kellogg School of Management, got an MBA there. And I really wanted to wanted to stay in investing, but really wanted to work with smaller companies, more niche businesses, where I think there's a lot more opportunity, but there's a lot of great businesses that can really exponentially grow if they're given the right resources to do so. And so after grad school,
that.
that's what I went. That's what I went and did, and invested in businesses across a lot of different industries, and then actually had an opportunity to get into an operating company. Candidly, at the time, I never thought I ever wanted to run a business. The idea of managing people was something that I did not want to have to do. But I jumped at the opportunity to get that experience. I thought it'd be a new challenge, but like I said, a lot of growth for me and really cool experience that I think would supplement me with my background as an investor up until that point. And so I actually got into an operating company that was investor owned. And I did that for about a year and a half, and it was a great experience. It was quite a disaster, to be honest with you. It was a turnaround story that everyone thought was going to be a growth story, but it was a great learning experience for me. And when I left that business, frankly, I planned on going back to doing the investing in small industrial businesses, private industrial businesses, like I'd done previously. But kind of had the entrepreneurial itch that said, I really think I could run a business, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to find a company that I could own and invest in, but also run and build. And that's what I decided I wanted to do the next part of my career. And then I very quickly found JJM, and the rest is history, as they like to say.
Now, most of your grad stuff, looking at it, did you specialize in entrepreneurial business or anything like that? From what I gathered, it sounded kind of like you did a little bit.
Yeah, in grad school, it's definitely at Northwestern. It's a general management program,
Gotcha.
so you can get some specialty. There's certain you can take electives that will focus on certain things, but the fundamentals and the whole program is a general management. What that really means is even every class that you take, it could be a marketing class, but they introduce finance and strategy and even operations into those classes and curriculum, so that you really have a holistic approach to everything that you do. Because in any business, no matter what the industry is, or even really what function you're in, especially nowadays, you really need to understand all the different levers and facets of a business, not just being siloed, like I said, into either a finance or a marketing role, and not really understanding how sales or operations are going to work or be impacted by the decisions or the actions that you or your team may take. And so I love that. And that's one of the reasons why I chose the program that I did, was a general management approach. But I definitely did a finance, kind of reinforced some of those technical skills or knowledge that I got as an undergrad, but then focused on entrepreneurship and innovation. Again, just really, really, how do you foster growth inside private business, and how do you kind of foster innovation and, like I said, explosive growth. And so that was some of the programming and some of the curriculum and activities that I pursued there.
So my undergrad, when I realized I was not going to be Indiana Jones and my history degree was just going to be my history degree, I ended up fumbling into an entrepreneurial business class, because initially when I looked at business stuff, it was all only business management, but I wanted more nuts and bolts to the business. I'd grown up in a family trade business. I'd seen how to do a ton of things wrong and a ton of things right and a ton of other things either way you want to throw it. So if I was going to do business, I wanted to get a different, as you say, holistic approach of, okay, that's great. You can teach me how to maintain it when it's here, but how do we get here and where do we go from here? And that was where digging into the entrepreneurial side of it made a lot more sense. So now I'm starting to understand kind of how your path went, because it's starting to make more sense. So how did you, I guess, as you started looking, how did you stumble across JJM, or what made you decide that was the right one and how you wanted to go about it?
Yeah, great question. I have always, again, I'd been investing for 10 plus years at that time. And I would say had really honed in on the types of businesses that I liked. So certain characteristics, for, all intents and purposes, I would say filtration like companies, which you have an engineered solution that has kind of a razor blade model to it. Really, really like those businesses. And normally there's a number of niche applications to them. So I already kind of had that interest, if you will, of types of businesses or characteristics. And then in a previous life at a firm that I worked for, we actually were owner of Airco, so boilers before they were acquired. And so I had a little bit of, I would say, knowledge of the heating and plumbing industry, just some of the overall trends, how stable it is, replacement demand, engineered solutions, all those great aspects that we enjoy in the industry. I did not set out to go find a condensate neutralizer, manufacturer that sold into the heating and plumbing industry. But I was introduced to George Carney and his wife Denise, who were the founders and previous owners of JJM, by a local business broker that was in my network, and obviously was aware of me. And we got introduced, and we started trading information. And the more I got to know about JJM and our business, kind of where we'd been, how we started, and then more importantly, where I thought the business could go, and specifically the opportunity that is present in our market today and growing exponentially into the future. Once I saw that, I really got excited about the opportunity, and like I said, the rest is history. But it didn't take too long. It was, I think, from probably the first time I had a conversation with George until us closing was probably no more than 3 or 4 months, which in the acquisition world is pretty short.
Quick.
Quick. But again, I'd been through this before once or twice, and so I certainly knew how to get those things across the finish line. It was pretty efficient, but a lot of credit to George and Denise. Again, we have a great business today, and they built a really nice company before, and really had their ducks in a line, and made it pretty easy for us to strike a deal and to get it across the finish line. So that I bought the business back in late November of 2019, right before the global pandemic and recession.
What a great time to drop a big chunk of change on a new business. Oh. So you take over November of 2019. I'm assuming, aside from taking over the company, how far did you even really get into, kind of getting people used to you and understanding processes and know what you were doing before you guys got hit with COVID kind of locking the world down for a bit?
Oh man. Yeah, it was pretty quick, and especially in those days when it's not too dissimilar from any of us joining, a new company or a new employer. Yeah. Is every day is, feels like you're never going to learn enough, and you're never going to get there, and you're drinking from a fire hose and all the other cliches. But, I would say I was just really starting to get my arms around the business, what we sold, who our customers really were, how we went to market, and starting to think about ways that we could grow and improve the business, and maybe what some of the needs were. And then, as you mentioned, all of a sudden, it literally felt like it was just practically overnight. I mean, I remember watching it, on the news that night after leaving the factory, and seeing, what was going on, and that people were talking about closing businesses, and hard to believe any of that was going to come to fruition, but it did, and it was. And yeah, at that point it was, we were deemed an essential business, given the supply chain that we sell into, which is great. So we literally never shut down. We didn't lose a shift. Not to say it wasn't without challenges, but yeah, it was pretty quick. I think, had we closed the transaction any later, I don't know if it would have gone quite as well. But again, George and Denise were, again, great, kind of in that transition, and providing support, when I needed them to, as far as answering questions and being responsive, and handing off relationships. So that made it, again, really, really easy on me as the new leader to step into the business.
It always helps when you're able to have a good relationship as you're kind of changing hands. That greatly helps.
Yeah, relationships are everything, and I think our team has heard me say this probably 1,000 times now. But people run businesses; those businesses don't run themselves, and so the people and the relationships are definitely everything. And like I said, we had some great some great folks in the business before that made it obviously attractive for me to step in, but also made it somewhat easy for us to work through that transition.
So, speaking of transition, so as you've transitioned into this new business, you've got to learn what condensate neutralization is. Now, is that something before you got into this you had any dealings with at all from other energy businesses? And is that kind of how you helped you find it, or was it completely new to you?
Totally new. Again, as we'll get into today, it was definitely a niche application, and I think I like to call it a nascent industry, if you will. But no, it was not something I was familiar with. I definitely had to better understand, really the condensing heating technology and what exactly that was, how prevalent it was, what the future of that technology looked like, because that's ultimately, today, that's ultimately our market, which is we're providing a solution to the byproduct of the condensing phase in these heating appliances. And so, yeah, it's, again, my background being more on the finance investing side is, I'm not an engineer and certainly don't have the technical chops that a lot of people in the trades, already have or have decades of. So I definitely had to get up that learning curve and better understand those things. But that's what I love doing is really analyzing those things and understanding how these things work and where the opportunities and challenges may be and figuring out a path forward. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of learning. I relied on our customers to some extent, just coming to them and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to learn our business." Some OEMs, manufacturers were generous enough to kind of show me their technology and provide me some information and trainings to better understand, like I said, that technology, how it works in the market. But then it was really, I would say, at a macro level of just understanding kind of where the market was and where it was headed, right, as far as energy regulations and energy efficiency standards and kind of where the market, again, was headed, because that kind of is what creates a huge opportunity for JJM.
So I'll get more into thoughts on the future because that may be just right in that other question you just may have seen.
Yep.
So for the uneducated, such as myself, so I cut my teeth, and everything that I've done in the trades has been primarily, I would say 80% residential, 5 ton and down. Now maybe 20 tons on a house, but it's 5 ton and down equipment, or light commercial 30 tons and under is primarily what I've done, from the time I was born into my dad's company until where I am now. And about a year and a couple of months ago, I moved to a new company, Insight Partners, so I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I was hired to grow residential light commercial business and work on moving some of that business to a newer distributor in the market. But also, Insight and Hobbs and Air Control Concepts and our whole family of brands are all commercial manufacturers, reps, to engineers and contractors almost first. That's where it started. So me coming over here, a lot of the reasons I wanted to come here is because I have so much more I can learn. Now, condensate neutralization is something I know a lot of our commercial guys do, but I've still yet to even get into understanding what it is and how it works. So this is where you get to educate me and an audience on how this whole process works.
Yeah.
So what is acidic condensate? We'll start there, kind of where and how is it produced? Why does it need to be managed? And then get into how you guys are different about how you control that.
Yeah. So I'll take it. I think I probably made assumptions of people even looking up kind of who JJM is or what condensate neutralizers are, but I'll start there. So JJM, today we're the leading designer and manufacturer of condensate neutralizers specifically for heating and plumbing installations. We like to say our products protect facilities and the environment. Our solutions, basically, the way to think about them, I've already mentioned kind of a filtration-like device, but they're designed to safely treat the acidic condensate that's produced by today's high-efficiency gas-fired heating appliances, specifically boilers, furnaces, and hot water heaters, both on the residential side and on the commercial side. And then quick background, I already mentioned George Carney, our founder, and his wife, Denise, but we've been doing this for almost 20 years. So we were started back in 2005. George was a boiler salesman for about 30 years. And when condensing boilers, mainly on the commercial side, started getting introduced by some of the OEMs in the late 90s, early 2000s, George was out in the field and started getting a lot of questions from installers and technicians about, hey, this new condensing boiler is great. It performs well. It's saving, the operator money. It's reducing the environmental footprint. That's all great, but we're getting a ton of condensate and it's eating floor drains, cast iron pipes, copper piping in homes. Is this normal? What are we supposed to do about it? And of course, the acidic condensate is part of the combustion process. So it's normal, it's supposed to happen. But George looked around at the time and just didn't see any solutions out there to treat this acidic condensate. And so he literally started making our first generation of products on nights and weekends out of his garage. And he grew the business working it part-time for a couple of years. And then after 5 years, decided to go full-time. So he left his boiler salesman job, made a go of it at JJM. He brought his wife, Denise, as I mentioned, into the business. And we've grown every single year for 19 years since George started us in his garage. And I think it's a great, kind of American success story. I love the story. I love telling it. And big, kudos to George and Denise for having the gumption to start the business, and then obviously to see it to where it was when I joined. And I also think it's important that people understand this is all we do as far as condensate neutralization. It's all we've done since day one, and that we do have our heritage, like I said, with George, is in the heating and hydronic space. So to answer your question specifically, acidic condensate, what is it? It's a byproduct of the condensing phase in a high efficiency gas-fired heating appliance. So again, boilers, furnaces, hot water heaters. If those are 90+% efficiency or greater, the way those appliances basically create that efficiency or gain that efficiency is having a secondary heat exchanger inside the appliance that, instead of venting the combustion gas as a non-condensing or traditional appliance might do, these new condensing appliances recapture that exhaust gas and extract additional heat or energy from those combustion gases. And then in so doing, that combustion gas inside the appliance starts to cool. It hits the dew point, it condenses, and then it collects inside the appliance and then is discharged out of the condensate trap. And that is basically where JJM's world starts. So our devices, like I said, are filters. They connect up as an external accessory to a boiler, furnace, or hot water heater, and we treat that acidic condensate before it's discharged. It's called acidic condensate because you've burned hydrocarbons, like I said, gas or propane more often than not. And so it's got various acids in it. If it is not treated, that acidic condensate, it will corrode or eat anything that's not certain plastics. So again, if you've got a basement with a residential unit, if it's just seeping into a floor drain, it'll eat the concrete foundation, it'll eat the floor drain. If you've got cast iron pipes underneath an older home, it'll corrode those and eat those pipes. If you've got a septic system in a rural area and the plumbing line is discharged into that, the acidic condensate will destroy all the bacteria in the septic system, and obviously that can be extremely costly. And then even downstream, the wastewater system underneath the home, that's the main line, maybe cast iron still in certain parts of the country. And then the wastewater treatment facilities, obviously, that can throw off the pH in large enough volumes in those wastewater treatment facilities. So there's a reason, why this stuff is supposed to be treated. There's even code around it, which I'm sure we'll get into today. But again, it's a really low pH liquid that just needs to be safely treated. I think an important note, I think, for everybody is to distinguish between regular condensate that all, contractors, installers, service techs are familiar with in a mini split or an air conditioning unit or refrigeration. That condensate is not acidic, right? And so that's been around for a very, very long time. But some folks are just now starting to come around to these new condensing gas-fired appliances and don't know that this new condensate is actually acidic, and you can't just run it in the same line the way you'd run like I said, a mini split line or something like that. So it's really, really important, and that's why we are happy to talk to folks like you to really talk directly to the trades, the contractors, installers, and service techs about the small issue that often gets overlooked that has a really easy solution, that is our products.
Well, and I think, I would guess maybe the bulk of your market is further north at this point, or is that completely it now? And or is that even completely off? Just because I know where certain regulations are, we don't hit those till a later date that we'll discuss in a minute.
Yep.
But as of 23, 90 plus is the norm up north. Period. That's it.
Right.
So that's where a lot of contractors are now having to learn, with all these additional new 90 plus furnaces that have secondary heat exchangers as well as anything else that has them, that you're creating this stuff that you weren't creating before. So, how do you learn to manage it without, as you say, the hiccups of not knowing and the things and where it could cause problems?
That's right. Yeah, great question. So at least as far as for JJM, I mean, we sell all across the United States today and into Canada. I think as you go geographically, I think it's more about, natural gas infrastructure. So you've got in certain parts of the country that never did natural gas hookups, right? So the infrastructure may or may not be there, or said differently, in other parts of the country, it's far more prevalent. And then I think it's more about the climate and what either preference or just what the market is for installers. So to your point, some parts of the country have always been heat pump markets, like South Carolina, probably in your neck of the woods is a little bit more of a heat pump market. Certain climates are going to be more of a furnace market as opposed to boiler or wet market. But water heaters, so our products, again, boilers, furnaces, and hot water heaters. I mean, if you've got a water heater, which is almost every building and home, you need hot water. It's just a matter whether it's gas and now going to be high efficiency gas. Those are ubiquitous. Those are across, the country. But yes, as far as how people are getting heat, there's definitely some nuances regionally as far as what people install and whether it's electric, gas, or whether they're doing furnaces or heat pumps and whatnot. But like I said, we see growth potential across the entire country. It's just a matter of some of those nuances, like I said, regionally or here and there, that maybe there's preference or what gets installed in certain markets or not.
Well, and that leans to the HVAC part of the show. Is on some things, that's why I love having people like yourself on here, and you can bring insight into plumbing and insight into hydronics and some of the other things that aren't just your normal everyday split stuff that I typically am covering and talking about on the show. And I wasn't even thinking about, condensing. Oh, there it is. I'm waiting for it. But I wasn't necessarily even thinking about condensing hot water heaters as well, even though we just talked about it. Now, trying to think the right way to phrase this question. Are your products, are they sized based on, I would say, residential versus commercial? I mean, obviously it's got to be, but are there ways where you may do a collection point system from maybe multiple different items all draining acidic condensate into the same place? Or does it have to be, every single item needs one as close to the drain port as possible to make sure you're not moving this stuff in the wrong direction?
Yeah, great question. I'll address it first. I'll kind of break it up into two parts. First would be just fundamentally, how do you size a neutralizer to a given appliance or installation? So first things first, it is definitely not one size fits all. So it's normally sized by the neutralizer by gallons per hour. So that would be the assumed acidic condensate that's going to be produced by a given heating appliance. So let's say you've got a furnace that's 100,000, residential furnace, 100,000 BTUs. It's going to be assumed to make X amount of gallons per hour. when it is running at a certain acidity. For reference, every burn is different, but the pH, which is kind of the metric for acidity, would be a 2.9 to a 4 pH is generally what we see out of these condensing gas appliances. You need to get above a 5 pH for the EPA, which is the overarching code, but also just to prevent any damage that I mentioned earlier. And so the way we size our neutralizers is, again, gallons per hour with that assumed acidity level, which is 2.9 to a 4, and you're trying to get to a 5 or hopefully a 6 pH. But gallons per hour can be really difficult for installer or service tech, or if you're at a distributor or with a rep trying to figure out what gallons per hour are in the field or at the counter. So we kind of do the back of the envelope math for the installer who's selecting a condensate neutralizer. So you'll see 2 ratings on all of our products, gallons per hour, and then ultimately there's an MBH, which is a heating capacity rating. And that's, generally speaking, that is the easiest way to size them. So we've got 15 different solutions today in our portfolio, which is the broadest portfolio on the market. Our bread and butter residential, one of them at least, models is K300, which is rated for up to 300,000 BTUs. So that means that neutralizer is well suited to handle a water heater that's 199,000 BTUs, one that's 99,000 BTUs, and one that's 250,000 BTUs, and everywhere in between. So it's okay to slightly oversize a neutralizer, all things being equal. So that's the fundamentals of just how to size. And then to your point, specifically more on the commercial side, people may do rack systems with water heaters nowadays, or you may have in the boiler room, you may have a number of boilers that are, in line. We do see people that will stack them, so to speak, right? And so you can certainly have one neutralizer service multiple heating appliances. You would just simply add the capacity up. So again, if you had 3 individual 1 million BTU boilers, that's 3 million total heating capacity. You would want a neutralizer that, if you're doing, single piping, that would be rated for, 3 million BTUs. Caveat being, I'll just kind of get a little bit in the weeds. We have heard from some installers, common piping, again, on boilers in a boiler room. It can be easier and slightly less expensive to do that. But if you do have one boiler go down, it will take, kind of all of them down. If you've got a single condensate line that's feeding into a neutralizer. So that's one thing to consider. And then the other would be the flue. And so again, you're going to have flue flue gases are going to go up. They're going to, depending on, the dimensions of the flue, they're going to condense and will come back down and will also drain. And so that's actually can be additional acidic condensate. And we generally tell people
it that way. I never even thought about putting one on a flue pipe.
So we generally tell people, again, it's a reference, but we tell people it's about a third, right? So that uses that previous example. If you had 3 1 million BTU boilers and you had a common flue, you've got 3 million total capacity. We would tell you might need another 1 million BTU neutralizer to handle the flue.
It's a lot to chew on, but I like it. So let's say you have a rack system doing single pipe. Now I'm guessing, what are the regulations on piping to the neutralizer? Is it a CPVC, or what's the appropriate drain apparatus to get it there without it causing a problem there and in between? Because if it can eat through concrete, it's going to eat through basic, probably 200 psi or anything else that they shouldn't be using anyway. But how do you get it there safely to the neutralizer if you're going single point?
So we always tell people, nowadays, especially with PVC, there's certain local codes and whatnot. So we definitely tell folks, to follow whatever the local regs are as far as what materials they can use. The one thing you'll see in all of our materials, though, is to use anti-corrosive materials. PVC normally is pretty good. We use ABS in some of our materials. PVC obviously, but again, some folks are trying to ban PVC or vinyl tubing, which we often see more on residential installations. A point of differentiation, but it's relevant to this on all of our products, particularly our newest generation of products. We design them to have the flexibility for the installer to do whatever they need to do on that job. So both the connections and the kit that we provide for our products are going to have the flexibility to either hard pipe in, which again could be some of those materials we just talked about, or use vinyl or poly tubing to connect up to one of our neutralizers from the condensate trap. So we try to provide that flexibility for folks because, like I said, geographically, it could be different what's allowed.
Yeah, material preference and code preference, like you said, it's going to be different everywhere you go.
Exactly.
So what about maintenance and lifespan? And
yes.
And then do all of your products use the same neutralizer? So it can be used across the board, or do you have to buy something different for commercial versus residential? How does that work for you guys?
Yep. As I mentioned, best way to think about these is like a filtration device. So like any filter, air filter, there's a housing and then there's a media. Our media is it's called pH power pellets. It's magnesium hydroxide is the active ingredient. We actually make our pellets in-house. And they're only found in JJM neutralizers. And so those ratings that I mentioned that come with every one of our neutralizers is based on that certain housing. So again, I'll use the K300 best-selling residential model that we have with the certain amount of pH power pellets that has been weighed in our facility for that particular unit, that particular rating. And so as a filter, the media needs to be replaced. The housing, these are anti-corrosive materials. These should last you for years, if not, a decade plus as far as the materials go. But the media itself definitely needs to be replaced so it can continue to neutralize and protect the plumbing system. And so we have some best practices as far as maintenance goes. We definitely, everybody's looking for preventative maintenance programs and service contracts nowadays, which we're definitely a fan of. But we just tell people, this should be built. The condensate neutralizer maintenance should be built into the PM of the heating appliance at least every 12 months. So you're out there taking down the appliance, you're turning off the gas and the power, you're stopping the flow of any acidic condensate as it is. You might as well just be doing the service of the neutralizer. So again, we tell people at least every 12 months. And then we make it really, really easy, again, for the installer, service tech. We individually weigh, package, and label the refill for every model that we make. So again, we've got 15 different models today, and we have some legacy models that we still support in the aftermarket. We take all the guesswork out of it. They just have to go order, again, K300 is an example. A K300R is the packaged, weighed, specific refill for a K300. It's going to be the right amount of media. So it takes all the guesswork out of it.
Yep,
saves time. Yeah, it saves time, which is money for those guys, and they know they're doing it right. And so, yes, it needs to be serviced at least every 12 months. And again, they can buy the individually sized refill for the right model.
So that takes out my selling point for the contractor question. Good job, sir. So, I guess that's also probably a way you set yourself, apart different from the competition is having quick and easy processes for getting refills, as well as, helping set up guys, teaching them how to do maintenance, things of that nature. As we talk about, regional codes and different things changing your market, the next biggest thing we've got coming now, as far as I know, it's official. But the 2028 95% AFU mandate for residential gas furnaces, which I'm assuming is going to be commercial as well. But 80%ers are gone. So in the South, it's, unless you grew up in a place like I did in the mountains, 90 plus was not the everyday furnace you see in places. I honestly never touched an 80% furnace that I installed ever. My dad only put in 90 plus furnaces. I ripped out some 80s, but I never actually worked on one, believe it or not. We tore them out anywhere we did a change out. But But then when I went into wholesale, I was selling 80% furnaces like hotcakes. And I'm like, why are these people buying these things? I know they're cheap, but why do you want this? So the Carolinas, believe it or not, are heavy furnace too in a lot of places. Yep. It's pretty almost split down the middle. I think it's starting to lean pump in certain markets, but there's a ton of gas here. So and that bodes well for, even Atlanta. Atlanta's a ton of gas, so much new construction of gas AC furnace. So I feel like you're going to see a boom in growth in the coming years down here because more people will have to be managing it, at least on the HVAC side, than were before. Kind of what are your plans for looking at 2028 and how that may change things for you?
Yeah. To paint the picture for you, there's if you're talking furnaces, there's been a little bit of noise. Just I think everybody's trying to figure out what the steady state is, but call it 3.5 million gas furnaces. I think is probably the right number. Most recently, on an annual basis, it's been kind of stable. I think at that number for I don't know, better part of 10 plus years. I think at this point. Mm-hmm. And so what we basically expect, which is what you just pointed to, is we expect that the market would eventually get there, just because the cost would come down and it would start to make sense, and people would adopt that high efficiency anyways. But the government is kind of forcing everybody's hand. So we expect, the entire market, right, that 3.5 million, just if it stays flat, will all be 95+% efficiency appliances. So all the 80%ers you just mentioned go out the window and are no longer available. Correct. And that's really, we think high efficiency heat is fantastic. We love it. We obviously think it is a game changer. It reduces energy consumption, operating costs for folks, emissions. It's great. We just want folks to know, like I said, this condensate is different, and this tsunami that is coming with furnaces in the next 4+ years, right? That every single furnace you're going to be installing, and then all those retrofits is going to have to be 95+%. And we don't want guys going in there and doing an incomplete solution that doesn't have a neutralizer on it to treat that acidic condensate that wasn't produced in an old 80% efficiency appliance. And so that's where we really see tremendous opportunity. But that's why we are trying to do everything we can to get the word out now, is so that as folks are starting to install more and more of these, and the manufacturers introduce more and more models and retire the old 80%ers, that people are already up to speed, and the best in class service techs and installers know about the acidic condensate and the really, really easy solution that is our products and the condensate neutralizers that are purposely built and designed to do exactly this, and to treat it and to work with these appliances kind of hand in glove. So yeah, we see, like I said, we see tremendous opportunity potential, but there could be a lot of headaches too. I mean, if
oh, absolutely,
there's contractors out there in the market that aren't aware of this, they're going to get a lot of callbacks from homeowners and business owners that aren't going to be too happy with some orange copperish sludge that's eating everything.
Well, and I think that's been a premise of this show since it started, is evolve or dissolve, which exactly is perfect for what we're talking about, because if you do not put in the condensate neutralizer, it's gonna dissolve. But forgive me for that terrible joke. But no, I think the important thing is that we're constantly learning and educating ourselves, because that's the only way that we can really move forward in the trades. Is if we don't stay active in learning and understanding, it's going to pass you before it's over with. And then you're just playing catch up. Especially we have a massive workforce that's retiring right now. We have a massive new influx of people that we're trying to get into the trades. And education is extremely important. And I'm very appreciative to how much I've learned from this. I was literally sitting over here taking notes. Don't grade me, but I'm taking them. Because I know it's something that I'm going to start seeing, and I need to understand, just like all the rest of the people listening to the show. But also when we start talking about this next group of people, you recently partnered with Explore the Trades. I had not heard of this before, So I'll let you speak to kind of what that means to you, what that's going to mean for JJM, how you, and tell me how you got involved with the initiative and how you plan to support its goals.
Yeah. We were thrilled to become a sponsor and supporter of Explore the Trades. We announced that earlier this year. So those who don't know, Explore the Trades is a not-for-profit that basically is there to support normally high schoolers, but to get exposure to the skilled trades, so plumbing, heating, and electrical in particular. They Explore the Trades does a lot of outreach with technical schools, with high schools, middle schools, and will actually even award and will sponsor labs inside of these schools to expose kids to the trades, to help them actually learn kind of on the job. So those that actually want to go into the trades can kind of get up the learning curve and actually have hands-on learning at a young age. And then I think more to the point, which is really what attracted us, was bringing the next generation of skilled tradespeople to the industry and actually introducing it to them at a very young age. We came across the organization. We're a member of Hardy, which is an industry organization for heating distributors. We were a member of the booth program last year, and Explore the Trades, I believe it was their first time participating. And so we met them and became acquainted with them there. And then, frankly, JJM, part of our DNA and our core values is continuous learning and education. And so we're big believers in education and everyone continuing to learn and to grow. And we certainly see in the industry writ large, I talked about a tsunami with condensing gas furnaces coming. There's a reverse tsunami almost of skilled tradespeople that are going to be disappearing from the industry, and it's a huge gap that we as an industry need to fill. And we, our products, I've already talked about them today with you. It's not rocket science. They're certainly designed and engineered to do these, to work with these appliances in these installations. But we want skilled technicians and installers working on our condensate neutralizers, installing them, and making sure they perform. But it's also because they're connected to a very complex gas appliance that really needs to have a skilled tradesperson installing and working on them. And that's a big part for us. And so again, when we came across Explore the Trades, we believed in their mission. We already wanted to find ways to support it. And then once we kind of heard about what they were doing, we wanted to find a way to get behind them and to support them. So we've supported them financially. And then, we're actually in the process of trying to reach out to some of their affiliated programs to provide, samples of our program, of our product, so that kids can learn about these things and acidic condensate, because pretty soon they're not going to be using 80% furnaces in those rooms. They're going to be using 95+%. Yep. But also just better understanding the best practices in the industry. And again, this is certainly going to become everybody knows about acidic condensate in the next 5 years, as far as we're concerned.
So I almost wouldn't have even thought about this, but yesterday I was at a Chick-fil-A, and there was a young girl behind the counter that saw the HVAC on my shirt and asked me if I did HVAC work. And I said, I grew up in it. I said, now I support it on the wholesale side. And I said, are you in the trades? Is your family in the trades? And she said, all of her brothers were at a different part of trade school. And she was trying to figure out if college or trade school was going to be right for her. And I said, well, she said, is it a good job? And I said, no one can take away what you can learn to do with your mind and your hands.
Amen.
So, and then I went to the car, got her 2 stickers and said, listen to the show. It may be above you, but you might learn something. So in case she is listening, one of the things I want to ask is, beyond technical skills, what other qualities do you think are important for a young person that's getting into the trades? Just basic, simple things.
Yeah. So great. I would say that's great advice you gave to her. And I think going back to the Explore the Trades, I mean, not to get on a soapbox, but I think...
Oh, get on it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Societal... I've already had my beer. So societal norms, I think we've, again, we're big believers in education. But I think we've set the societal norms for everybody, at least in the United States, that college is the only answer. And I don't think that's always been the case, and I certainly don't think that's the case today. We do think education and training and investing in yourself and learning and wanting to grow, that should be, something that everybody strives for. But I just think we've done a disservice to previous generations of not exposing to them all the opportunities out there. And then I think as it relates to the industries that we work in, it's a perfect balance of technical know-how and hands-on working with your hands and building something and grit. And I love that about our industry. But I think sometimes it gets, it's got a negative connotation for whatever reason, that it's dirty or it's not respectable work, when in fact, I think it's quite the contrary. And this just as well as I do, people can have a great career and make a great living, especially early on in their career. You can really quickly get up that learning curve and that earning curve. You can. So yeah, I think the only thing I would add to what you told her at Chick-fil-A would be, if we learned anything in the last 4 years, is it's an essential industry and it's not going away. And I think it's in the midst of a pretty significant, I'm not going to say disruption, but I think there's a lot of innovation going on. And as you mentioned, if people don't get with it, they're not going to be here tomorrow in the industry. But those that want to learn and want to evolve, I think there's tremendous opportunity. And like I said, it's an essential industry. As we say, everybody needs heat and hot water, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So no. It's a great industry to go into.
So next question with Explore the Trades. Before this, I didn't realize you were based in Texas. So, and kind of what you've talked about is a lot of the programs around you, I'm guessing, are tech school, but I'm sure there's also a lot of local companies that do training and education. Now, does Explore the Trades do they have a website? I'm sure they do. And is there anything, let's say you're in different parts of the country, do they cover all different places where they could say, hey, this is a good place, or a school we're affiliated with, you could go and check out? Or is there any kind of resource through Explore the Trades that can help get someone to a tech school or a company that's looking to build, train employees?
Yes. So a good plug. And again, we're a supporter here, but explorethetrades.org. They do a great job. They actually have all of their partner schools and institutions on there. But a plug to a distributor. Ferguson was kind of the cornerstone sponsor of it. So anybody who knows Ferguson, they can certainly get information on Explore the Trades from there. But, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn for the organization, but Explore the Trades was really the brainchild or kind of offspring of Nexstar Network, which I would guess a lot of your listeners, contractors out there, probably are pretty familiar with. And so Explore the Trades is definitely affiliated with Nexstar Network, which obviously provides a lot of support for the business owners and the trades. But yeah, Explore the Trades, they have, I think, every one of their schools listed on their website.
Okay, so nice. So if you're looking to get into it, go and check out explorethetrades.org, get you some more information, and then always go look at your local tech schools or your even local community colleges and kind of start getting you pointed in the right direction. So kind of as we start to wrap up, this is the first time I've gave it kind of a title, but I've started kind of at the end of every show doing a little something so that we can try to give back to everybody going into 2024, whether it be even these are kind of meant to be almost rapid fire questions. So just to get a quick blurb out to help someone else. So question 1, if you're good with it, what aspects of the trade industries continue to inspire and motivate you as a business owner of a manufacturer?
Work ethic and dedication to their craft.
Love it. And so you don't have to expound on that. Done.
You said rapid fire.
No, I like it. So can you share a recent success or achievement within your business that's brought you a sense of pride and optimism?
Oh, gosh. A lot of pride, that's for sure, and definitely some optimism, as I kind of outlined earlier. Pride, I'll go on pride. So we developed and introduced 6 new models to the market in just the last 18 months, which was certainly a big lift for us, but also providing great solutions to the market that we're really, really proud and excited about. And then I mentioned to you all the growth again since we started in 2005. We've grown every single year, but we managed to double the business since 2019, which is definitely a big achievement and a point of pride for all of us.
So this almost answers this next question. But how do you maintain a positive outlook and overcome challenges in the trades during uncertain times of rapid innovation and regulatory change, even though you're the one doing the rapid innovation, apparently?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I think we mentioned there's a lot. I think there's a lot of, again, not disruption, but a lot of things happening in our industry, from consolidation to technology to regulatory changes. I think just generally the way I think as an individual, as a business owner, but I think it applies to where our industry is today, is I think that innovation and change creates opportunity, but only for those who are willing to go get it. So yeah, it feels like there's a lot of things that are kind of shifting around, but again, I think that creates tremendous opportunity. You just have to be willing to go get it.
In your experience, what kind of strategies or mindset shifts have helped you stay resilient and optimistic in that same face of adversity?
Yeah, I think I look back to when I joined the business and was just, as I shared, getting into the industry, is the realization and kind of the North Star that I go back to, which is we are an essential industry. And it's, again, as there maybe feels like there's disruption around every corner, it's not going away. And again, as I've said before, everybody needs heat and hot water, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that just kind of always recenters me anytime I feel there may be some things that are uncertain around the corner. I just recognize that we're in a large industry that's incredibly stable and essential. And again, that's not going away. I think how we go about doing business and what those things look like, I think that's where things are changing. But again, that creates a lot of opportunity. But I think it's just knowing that people need heat and hot water, and that's not going to change.
Any last advice or words of encouragement that you'd offer to fellow trades people or business owners in the trades, as well as future technicians?
Oh man. Yeah, I think advice would be, particularly folks who maybe have the entrepreneurial itch, I think scratch it if you really have one. But I think something I would caution folks about is, again, there's a lot of, disruption, however you want to call it, in the industry today. Technical skills are incredibly important, are going to become even more important, and continuing to stay on the frontier of learning and make that part of your process, whether it be yourself or your team or your company, is continuing to, learn what's next and what's out there, and not just be stuck in our laurels. And this is the way we've done things for 40 years. So I think continuing to sharpen your technical skills. But frankly, I think the industry really is going to have to shift to more of a service orientation. And I think a lot of folks do a really good job about that out in the industry. But I think for ways for people to thrive and frankly survive in the coming decades in our industry, they're really going to have to be service oriented. And there's going to be a big kind of distinction between those who do and those that don't. And I think the latter is more of the old school way of, you just got a phone call and a homeowner or building owner asks you to come service a part, and you walk in and you do it and you leave and you move on to the next job. And I think a far more service-oriented, consultative approach to solving people's problems and what their concerns are is really going to be how people in our industry grow and, like I said, survive. And then similar vein, communication. Again, I think some people in the trades maybe are drawn to it because they don't have to deal with customers or clients too often. But I think those things are probably going to change. I think communication and effective communication is going to become even more important to distinguish ourselves in the industry. So service and communication, like I said, continuing to learn and grow and stay at the forefront of technology.
I love it. So basically what I've been trying to figure out how to call this section for months is give more in 2024. It's just how can we just even say a few things to each, and every other tradesperson to help them have a better year. So every little bit, I really appreciate all of the episode. I appreciate all of your, off the cuff answers right here, because I kind of hit you with this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for so much of the education that you've given me. Any other last shout outs you'd like to make, including your own company, website, where to go to find you, follow you on social media, that kind of stuff that you want to get out there?
Yeah, absolutely. JJM alkalinetech.com. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. We're throughout the country, U.S. and Canada, with leading reps and your wholesalers. You can find us, and then have to give a shout out, obviously, to, I mentioned a couple of them. Got to shout out Explore the Trades one more time. Go check them out, support them, and then Hardy I mentioned, and then American Supply Association and PHCC. We're all proud supporters of those organizations as well, that we're proud to be members of.
Thank you so much for your time, Kyle. I really appreciate it. I hope all of you out there listening in the trade crew had a great episode, learned some stuff. I certainly did. If you're not following the show online, you can find HVAC R&D on Instagram and TikTok as at HVAC.R&D. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, Trade Hounds, and Facebook as the HVAC R&D Podcast. Make sure to go follow Kyle T. Emmons on LinkedIn. Well, I guess request a connection. And then go follow JJM Alkaline Technologies there as well, so you can start seeing some of his content. Go check out the website. There's a lot of cool educational stuff there for you as well. Thank you for listening to the show on your favorite platform, whether it be Apple Music, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, or any of the other platforms. Please make sure to follow the show, like and rate us, leave me a review, share me with your friends and your trade crew. And don't forget to go check out the website and the swag shop. If you want to work with me again, please just reach out through HVACRD.com. And I hope all of you guys have a great, fantastic weekend. Love y'all. Thanks for listening. Peace.